What's going on, guys? Welcome to IPBL Weekly, our first one for Season 7. We have rebranded the International Pokémon Battle League, but we still have 8 coaches who've previously been a part of the league, so a lot of familiar faces. Today, I am joined by my brother, the commissioner and coach of the Milwaukee Mewers, Sahil, and coach of the Washington Pokemon team, formerly the Hollywood Haluchas, formerly the Ohio State Fighting Sea-Dots, and champion of Season 1 of the IPBL, formerly the IPL, Jared Stoneman. How are you guys doing?
Long list of acronyms and names right there.
Lots of formerlies.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
As a person who drafted 10 Pokemon and then dropped 8 of them, not as well as it could be,
But I feel like, you settled on a good team. So
No, I feel comfortable with where I ended up at. There was space to move around,
Exactly.
I played in the space, and here we are.
Exactly.
I mean, you should feel confident knowing that you went through that whole post-draft process that most other teams didn't go through, I think. And
that's true.
yeah, you probably spend a lot more time on it than other teams and have a more cohesive team.
That's true.
Yeah, it seems like the people in med school maybe didn't have as much time.
That's probably true. We are 24 minutes away from the end of the grace period, so we aren't anticipating any more changes. Sahil, you are the commissioner of this league. Any words of inspiration for the beginning of Season 7? How confident are you that we'll finish the season?
Well, if I put my commissioner hat on, I'd say 100%, right? But okay. If I have my Sahil hat on, probably 80%. I mean, I think since we switched the 8-team format, we know everyone in the league personally. We're all in one Discord. I mean, you have to remember, for so many of those seasons, we really didn't even have, like, a group chat we were going to. It was just a matter of, like, people responding to their emails. And it seems just...
Oh, God.
Looking back now, that seems, like, really unsustainable. And I'm surprised that, like, we honestly had the responsibility to even, like, keep that working as some seasons as long as we did. But yeah,
we had the email to schedule. I totally forgot about
that. That's a bad system, I would say. I'd go so far as to say.
It is.
Yeah, and some of them were people we didn't know in radically different time zones. So I think
right.
Like it was definitely hard to do, but I think now, we got our last 2 regular seasons under our belt. I think every game was done on time last season. So even the teams that were mathematically out of it still showed up and played their games. So I'm really confident. And I'm super excited. This has obviously been, an annoying and tough year in a lot of respects. And I think just it's nice to have this kind of grounding, our weeks, I feel like, or at least my week. Every week I look forward to it.
Yeah, speaking of which, what do our COVID safety and health protocols look like for this season?
All of our Pokemon are getting tested every day of the week, and
so if a Pokemon has Pokerus, what happens?
Yeah, there's contact tracing. So if one of Jared's former Pokemon tests positive right now, Jared's Pokemon for this weekend's game may have to be ruled out.
Gotcha.
If they had contact.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it seems like you're on top of it. So today we're going to talk about the draft. We're going to go through every team, and then we're going to preview our Week 1 matchups. Do we want to do some predictions for the... Well, we'll do some predictions, too, for the entire season. How about that? How does that sound, guys? All right, great.
Enthusiastic response.
So as you can see on the screen by this very grainy image, I was way too lazy. We have 2 conferences this year, the Kanto Conference and the Galar Conference. Huge shout out to Vex for designing both the conference logos, the Wisconsin Whalers logo, and the IPBL logo. They all look fantastic.
Yeah, they're incredible.
So thank you to them. In the Kanto Conference, we have the Milwaukee Mewers, the Toledo Team Rockets, the Washington Pokemon Team, and the Wisconsin Whalers. And in the Galar Conference, we have Bayern Munchlax, the current champions of the league, Granville Goomies, the Green Bay Yampers, and the London Lanterns. So that's how the league looks this year. The format for the league is the same as it has been the last few years. We have 2 divisions. Or conferences. Conference, I think, is our official term. The top 2 teams in each conference will make the playoffs. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head. followed by, well, I guess if there's there really isn't a, well, I guess, oh wait, no, we play each other twice, so there could be a tie. So that's followed by division record, and then followed by differential. That's correct, right, Sahil? Okay.
Division record, then differential. Yep.
Right, and so every team plays everyone in their own division twice, and then everyone from the other division once, for a total of 10 matches, 10 weeks throughout the season. All right, turning this over to the draft. Wow, terrible hosting by me, but we're gonna keep on going. Jared, you had the first pick in the draft, so the Washington Pokemon team had the first pick in the draft, followed by the Granville Goomies, then the Green Bay Yampers, Wisconsin Whalers at 4, Milwaukee Bears at 5, Bayern Munchlax at 6, and then the London Lancers and Toledo Team Rockets rounded it out, and we did do Serpentine. So Jared, you had the first pick in the draft. Why don't we? So okay, I said we're gonna go by division. So. All right, we're back, guys. Sorry, we had a bit of some technical difficulties with the Draft League website. But let's start off with the Kanto Conference, and we'll start off with you, Jared, and the Washington Pokemon team with the first overall pick in the draft. You ended up going with Dragapult, and then with your second pick, you went with Tapu Koko. I'm just going to list your team. And then after that, you picked 8 different Pokemon than you have right now. But right now you have Pikachu, Moltres, Sylveon, Tentacruel, Rillaboom, Cobalion, Umbreon, Tauros, and Piloswine. So why don't you talk us through the first pick? Was there really any deliberation, or were you just thinking, I'm going to take Dragapult?
Not really. For a little bit, I was thinking that maybe Cinderace or Landorus T might be up in there because, Cinderace having Libero, very interesting, very exciting.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing it in action. Yeah, you would. But I got wrecked by Dragapult every single game I played against Steven.
And just a reminder to our viewers, Jared had the first pick last year and decided to pick Aegislash over Dragapult. So, you got to make up for that pick.
It felt like a good decision at the time. Aegislash still put in work that season. I think, maybe I had some holes in my team that I needed to fill that I didn't, and that was more the issue than the Aegislash pick necessarily. At the same time, that speed tier is just kind of unmatched except by Zeraora, and only one person can have that Pokemon. So,
which I do.
Yeah, which you do.
Right. I mean, Aegislash is a phenomenal Pokemon. I think there was probably a little bit of holdover from the previous generations before they nerfed the Pokemon. We were like, where Aegislash was just banned. So it was like, oh damn, I get a chance to get Aegislash.
Right.
And you probably
that's also fun, right? To use a Pokemon that was banned. That counts.
Yeah, and it's a fun Pokemon to use overall. It has so many different sets and good priority in Shadow Sneak, but it's just not quite as consistent as Dragapult is. With you don't need to do anything to make Dragapult work in a draft format because its speed is so good and because its coverage is so solid.
There's a lot more you have to prep for with Dragapult. Aegislash, you kind of know you're probably going to deal with it in the same way regardless of the set. That's not necessarily true, but it's kind of true. Whereas Dragapult, you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, as a fellow division mate with Jared last year, I feel like when I brought Ferrothorn, it just kind of, I know it gets Sacred Sword, but
it gets close combat now. But
okay, yeah, but I still think that calc wasn't favorable with the Iron Barb's damage or whatever it was. I felt like that was a decent counter to it. So I think
yeah, and if people did the math, sometimes they could prevent a one shot, and if they could prevent a one shot that I thought maybe I was gonna get, then all of a sudden it's Sword Form Aegislash who dies to a Stiff Breeze. All that said, Dragapult I think is just more consistent and more dangerous in this format. So
definitely.
And, I got stomped by it last year, so I'm looking forward to doing some of the stomping, hopefully.
Well, so originally you drafted well, you took Coco in the second round, which you still have. Initially, you drafted Sand along with Hawlucha. Oh, no, you didn't draft Sand. You drafted Sun, excuse me. But you did draft Excadrill, and you had Hawlucha. So you had a very hyper-offensive team. And then, after the draft, in our newly instituted grace period, which I'm glad people are actually using, because if this was last year, you would have been fucked. Like I was. How do you feel about your team now? Why did you make those changes? And what was the reason? Yeah, what was the reason for those changes? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so basically I had a couple different plans going into the draft. I was thinking that maybe, second round if Excadrill and Tyranitar were both still available, I would just like insta pick those. And then I was also thinking if third round no one had gotten Torkoal, then I would go Sun, and then I did like half of that, and because Tapu Koko was open and Tapu Koko is so solid and I didn't expect it to be there. And then I went Sun in the third round because the big rationale for Sun was that it has some low tier mons, some cheaper picks that are really effective under Sun, but not really effective anywhere else. And so I was thinking I would get more value out of my low tiers with a Sun team, but it just didn't feel right. I was worried about being overly reliant on weather. It's not something I've particularly played with a lot in the past, and even though I was, had seen some people use it well, I wasn't sure that I was one of those people. So I kind of panicked after the draft and wanted to go something a little more balanced and a little more well-rounded than Sun, because while I think Sun can be really good, I think part of its effectiveness on ladder, for example, is that people don't expect it and don't prep for it. Whereas if you know exactly how you want to deal with Sun teams, I'm going to have like Torkoal and Venusaur, and that's 2 slots just to enable Venusaur, and then you just don't have to do as much predicting in your prep, and I wanted to be a little more unpredictable.
I really like your team as it is right now.
Yeah.
I think when you have Dragapult, the thing you have to do or the thing you should do, rather, is just support it to where it can win endgame in Draft League. And I think your team now does that, whereas before I feel like it was just like, you were hoping that every mon that you brought would get a kill and that you would just win in the end. Yeah. Now, you have Wish support and Heal Bell support. You have Rapid Spin from Tentacruel. You have Sylveon and Cobalion, which can deal with other dragon types. You have Tauros, which can deal with ghost types, and Umbreon, which can deal with ghost and dark types. You have a lot of momentum on your team. Tapu Koko gets Volt Switch and U-Turn. Rillaboom gets U-Turn. Sylveon and Umbreon get Baton Pass. Moltres gets U-Turn. Cobalion gets Volt Switch. And Pikachu gets, I think, U-Turn and Volt Switch. So, really, your team can soak up hits, do some damage, and then, switch into Dragapult, and it can claim a kill, which I think is super scary. I think the biggest weakness I see with your team as it stands currently is you have 1 ground immunity, and you have four ground weaknesses, including Pikachu. So I guess like 3 ground weaknesses, I would say.
So 3 ground weaknesses.
Rillaboom is a very good resistance.
It's a good mitigator of that.
Yeah.
Because, the earthquake.
Right.
And magnitude, when people start bringing magnitude.
That's true. I mean, the thing is, like, people can run high horsepower because they know it's going to be there. But, I mean, even forcing people to take a slightly weaker move that's not 100% accurate, like, that can be really valuable. And I think the thing that I love about the 2 terrain setters, is, like, if you're playing someone with just 1 terrain and it's really valuable, like, let's say you have Tapu Koko in and they bring in their, for example, Sahel's Tapu Lele to change the terrain to Psychic. If you Volt Switch or U-Turn on that turn, you literally reset the terrain on the next turn with Rillaboom. Like, you have the power to do that, which I think is really, really cool. And, I think just the sustain of grassy terrain is super nice for
Yeah.
Pokemon on the ground. So
Yeah, I mean, for Sylveon, Cobalion, and Dragapult, they're all going to benefit from that. And Tentacruel, and Piloswine, and Tauros. I mean, literally
Yeah.
everything on my team except for Moltres is going to benefit from
right,
having grassy terrain.
Right.
Whereas
And
electric
Coco.
terrain's... Yeah, I mean, electric terrain's a little more offensive. Well, will Coco ever benefit from
no, that's what I'm
grassy
saying. It
terrain?
won't,
Is that
Coco. I'm saying it
possible?
won't. I'm saying it
Oh,
won't
okay.
benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
Um,
bring Telepathy Coco. You know, that would
It's
be
an option.
that would be very big brain.
It's the biggest brain. The biggest brain. My brain's ever expanding. My skull can barely contain it. But yeah, no. I mean, when I was thinking about it, and I mean, seeing Rillaboom is such an offensive threat and kind of all arounder that filled a gap on my team that was being filled by Serena, who I wasn't as excited about.
How dare you?
Sorry to report. It also, I was, for a little bit, I have Mandibuzz as well, and Mandibuzz is a Pokemon that I understand exactly why it's good. I understand what it does, and also I don't really want to play it. I would just got
Right.
it because I know it's a good partner for Dragapult. And while that's still true, I'm more excited to have like a new high tier offensive threat that, has added utility, and, Moltres kind of filling a similar role along with Umbreon.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
Lots. I feel like I cover the same things.
Go ahead, Sal.
yeah, I feel like, I mean, you look across the board, like Moltres, or like Moltres and Sylveon. I'm not actually exactly sure how Moltres really operates within the latter context. I'm not that familiar with it since it just got competitive, but Moltres and Sylveon, like, I think of them as more defensive-esque Pokemon, but Sylveon's got, 130, or no, yeah, 110 special
130.
attack,
Yeah.
and Moltres has 125 special attack, so...
Right.
I mean, I think especially nowadays, it just feels like you don't want your defensive Pokemon to just be setup fodder, and it's important that they can hit back too, and yours definitely do that.
Right, and Moltres is an extremely versatile Pokemon. A lot of people do end up running it defensively with heavy-duty boots, with like Defog, Roost, Flamethrower, and Scorching Sands. Like that's really the set that you see on the ladder. Toxic is also very good on it. It can be offensive. It does get Weather Ball now. I mean, you don't have Weather anymore, but you never know if you want to set up something. And then Flame Body is just like super nice, right? It's a U-turn. It is the best U-turn counter in the game because it 4 times resists U-turn, and you can switch it in and it can get burnt. And like that's very valuable. And I'm looking at the stats now. Moltres has a 55% win percentage in singles.
Oh, really?
Which is very very good. So it's just such a solid Pokemon. And going back to the whole Mandibuzz question, I think having I think I prefer Umbreon as a partner with Dragapult just because you have that Wish and Heal Bell support. And then with Sylveon, Umbreon, and Dragapult, I mean, you can be wishing between them and like U-turning and baton passing, and having Umbreon allows Sylveon to be more offensive if it needs to be. Sylveon is not, confined to a cleric role every week when you have something like Umbreon, which I think is really valuable. And on top of that, I think with Tapu Koko and having electric terrain, having a Pokemon that complements Dragapult's really well in terms of resisting Dragapult's threats it is not weak to electric type moves, which are boosted in the electric terrain, right? So having Umbreon there, you're not at risk of going in and being hit super hard by an electric type move. You can switch it in without even having to think about that. I think that's really great. Your water type also being neutral to grass type with the grassy terrain there, I think is really nice as well. So I mean, overall, I really like your team. I will say, I think the other thing that I'm not super crazy about is your steel type not being resisting fairy. But I mean, you have Tentacruel and you have Moltres, so I think you can deal with that. And it's a 10 to 11 mon league. You're gonna have weaknesses. It's gonna be especially when you're totally redoing your draft. You're picking from what's available. And considering that, I think you did a phenomenal job of redoing your team and putting out a team that complements and supports Dragapult without necessarily relying on it. I think if you lose Dragapult, you're not dead. I mean, you have Rillaboom and Coco and Sylveon to win.
Yeah.
And then, Piloswine as well, I didn't mention. It has...
Slime with the big ice shard.
Yeah, big ice shard, but it has thick fat, so that's really nice for Rillaboom and for Dragapult. I mean, resisting those fire and ice type moves, resisting freeze dry, which Tentacruel can't do well, and having Moltres, which also resists freeze dry. It's just, or it doesn't resist freeze dry, but it's a decent switch into freeze dry. I mean, that's really good. I mean, I really like that, and it's a very consistent Stealth Rock setter, and you do have that normal type, so people can't necessarily freely a Shadow Ball on you, and Tauros is an underrated Pokemon, really, with that 110 speed tier, sheer force, so it has a boosted body slam with Life Orb. So good Pokemon, or good Pokemon on your team. You have some removal too, and Pikachu. That's a wild card. We'll see. I'm hoping Pikachu comes at some point this season.
Yeah, no, I want to see him hit the field. I think the kid's got a lot of potential. He's the plan is to redshirt, but if that doesn't happen, that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
We're just building him up for his future career.
Right.
That.
Well, and looking at this, I'm looking at your type chart right now, and you have for Dark and Dragon, you're +3. So I mean, just you're +3 and +2 respectively, rather. I mean, that's amazing, and +1 with Ghost. That's amazing with Dragapult. You're supporting it well, which is what I've been saying. And actually, I think the best way for me to do this might be to share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. Why didn't I think of this before?
That would make a lot of sense.
So I'm going live right now, and you guys should be able to see my screen. And something else I didn't mention is Tentacruel. Being a toxic spike setter with Hex, that could be really nice as well. And you just have a lot of Pokemon that can status your opponent for Hex.
Yeah.
So, any other final thoughts on the Washington Pokemon team, guys?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned if Dragapult dies, he has other options. I think Cobalion is an underrated setup sweeper. We saw what it did last year with Matt. And when his Necrozma went down, or when he couldn't rely on his Necrozma, he had that setup sweeper in the back, and I think it definitely could do a lot of work. But it could also play a more passive role with Stealth Rock and do whatever you needed to, and Volt Switch and do whatever you needed to do, but it can definitely be a lethal setup sweeper as well.
For sure. I think Cobalion is slightly weaker in the expanded Galar universe.
Right.
But, I mean, I think it still is going to do the job pretty well for Jared. All right, Jared, any final thoughts on your team?
No, I'm like I said at the beginning, as someone who dropped 8 out of the 10 mons they drafted, I am pretty happy with where I ended up. Really excited to use all 3 of my the Dragapult, Tapu Koko, Rillaboom. I am so excited to use all 3 of those. Pretty excited for the season.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about the next team that drafted in the Kanto division. That is the Wisconsin Wailords, coached by Bash, returning to the IPBL.
Wait, isn't second?
Well, okay, so the other 2 are in the other division. That's why.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he ends up going with Landorus Therian, Zapdos, Galarian Slowking, Ditto, Heatran, Blissey, Togekiss, Spectrio, Shedinja, and Wailord. So it's a fascinating team. I'll say that. It's a little top heavy. It reminds me a little bit of Akash's team last year, honestly. But I think it's a lot more versatile than Akash's team. And I think I don't know how I feel about this team, honestly. I think
Wait, did you organize that by point totals or by points?
Let me do it that way.
Yeah.
So I think obviously Landorus Therian is phenomenal. Heatran is phenomenal. They complement each other incredibly well. I do think with those, though, I think you really, really need a solid water type switch in, and Wailord just isn't that. And he doesn't have any water resistance on his team. I mean, I guess Shedinja's immune to water, but I think that's the biggest problem I see with this team. Spectrea's an interesting pick too. I think it's really good on the ladder. It was banned to Ubers. It's not very versatile. It has really Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. It can set up with Nasty Plot. It also gets like Mud Shot and like Hyper Beam. But it'll be interesting to see how it uses. Zapdos, I think, is incredible. Zapdos is my favorite, like one of my favorite Pokemon. Another Pokemon that can be defensive, offensive, 125 special attack, 100 speed, great defenses, good ability with static. Galarian Slowking being able to Future Sight spam and then maybe teleport and switch into like Spectrier, and then something being hit by Future Sight and then Spectrier getting its +1 ability, it's Grim Neigh, whatever. That seems really cool. Togekiss is also a phenomenal Pokemon. I'm not 100% sure if I don't know. I'm not sure how this all works together.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to parse in my head as we're looking at all this, because those top 5 mons right there. I like all of those.
Right.
I just don't
really
know.
The 6 mons.
Yeah.
Blissey's interesting. I think you can deal with Blissey a little bit better in Draft League than you can online, but obviously it's incredibly annoying and it's a good cleric as well. I think so Spectrier and Landorus can set up. Landorus usually doesn't show up as a setup sweeper, but it could. Ditto also is a really interesting pick. Like that can be something that patches up a lot of your holes.
Right.
If you bring it, like if there's a really good water type on your opponent's team, if you switch into Ditto, I mean you do resist it more likely than not. But still, I think he should get a better water resistance, or even an immunity. I think a water immunity would be fantastic. Like even if he, with the 1-pointer, like Maractus is there, which has Storm Drain.
Yeah, I mean, God, isn't Seismitoad still out?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a little expensive. I'm trying to think of things that he could maybe afford. I mean, and I was actually telling him before the draft, I think a Pokemon that I like more than Heatran with Landorus is Volcanion, because it does have Water Absorb. It's still 4 times resist Ice. So I think that might be something he should consider. But I mean, Heatran's really good too. So I don't know what tier. Do I actually have to scroll down? What tier is Shedinja? And Wailord.
Shedinja is
Almost
2 points. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think either of those are really ever gonna come. But I mean, even if he traded like one of those in for like even Lapras, which is a water absorb Pokemon, or like I said, Maractus, I think that might be better. I don't know.
Right.
I've talked.
Still has room to do that, man.
I've talked a lot about this team. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Bash is an interesting player. He was really good in doubles. Actually, like if you look at his like GXC or whatever on Showdown, I think he's like 74% on doubles overall on Showdown, which is pretty damn good. And he was really good. I think he was really into it in Gen 6. He's never been much of a singles player, but apparently like back in the day, his Landorus Zapdos combination was like what like really helped him. So I think he got that. We'll see how well that works in singles. I mean the ice weakness is covered up with Heatran and a little bit, but yeah, I think I'm interested to see what he'll do. I definitely think that. Yeah, I mean, I think doubles requires a lot of skill, obviously, and like there's a lot more to think about. It seems intimidating to me personally, and I feel like with the requisite prep and effort, he could be a solid team this year.
Well, I think so too. And I mean, he has at the end of the day, he has scary Pokemon, and like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always useful. I don't know how I feel about Spectrier. I think that if he were to like drop Spectrier and like one of his low tier mons, I think he could actually, come up with a really, really nice team. That's a little bit more cohesive, in my opinion. But we'll see how Spectrier does. I mean, we're all kind of are kind of unsure about what that's gonna look like. What that's gonna look like this year. So.
I mean, even something like Milotic and Suicune are 14 pointers, so you could upgrade elsewhere on that Wailord spot if you wanted to go. If you wanted to go from Spectre to that one of those Pokemon and then upgrade, yeah, from the 2 pointer to a 5 pointer or something like that.
Right, like, so, I mean, if you were to do that, if you were to drop Spectrier and Shedinja, let's say, because, I mean, Wailord is his mascot, or if you were to drop both of them, right, he has, how many points? Is Spectrier 17 points?
Yes.
Okay, so he would have 21 points. Like, let's say he goes for Vaporeon, which is a water absorb Pokemon. It can Wish, it can Heal Bell, it can Flip Turn. I think that would actually be really good for this team. That's only 11 points. That leaves him with 10 more points. To go with Heliolisk, he doesn't, or he has, well, he has an electric type, but that's another water absorb Pokemon.
Yeah, it is another water immunity. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. He would have a lot of options there. Is basically what I'm saying. But we'll see. I mean, I'm interested to see how his team works. I mean, he could definitely make it work because, like I said, it's a scary team. The difference between 130 and 100 kind of scares me because you're going to see a lot of those in-between Pokemon just run Adamant or Modest. But I think that shouldn't be too much of a big deal. I think a lot of teams are actually kind of on the slower side this year. But I'm not 100% sure about that. We'll confirm that as we go along. But
he has his what is it? Picks 6 through 8 are Pokemon that I would traditionally consider annoying if executed properly. So we'll see if he can mentally get in his opponent's heads with Togekiss, Blissey, and Ditto.
I mean, this run of tiered Pokemon here is very aesthetically pleasing. So
that's also true.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. There's not a lot. I mean, wow, what is he, +6 in Bug? Okay, so he is +6 in Bug.
+6 in Bug. All right, no, I'm not hate drafting Buzzwole.
Right. Well, and look, I mean, he's -1 in Water when his 2 top Pokemon are weak to Water. Like, that's basically what I was saying. Really -2 because of Wailord. Wailord doesn't count. All right, anything else in the Wailords? All right.
No, I'm interested to see it. I definitely do think there are some free agency moves he could make that would make it more clear how the team is going to play, but maybe be unclear about how your team is going to play will play to his advantage.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, Blissey is nice because he does have 2 psychic or shadow ghost weaknesses. So that's, you know, I feel bad because I feel like I was just shitting on his team. Like, I don't think it's that bad. I'm more interested to see like how it works out. And I think the water weakness is something that he should address. Okay. Next up in the Kanto Conference is the Milwaukee Mewers with its first pick in the first pick of your draft. God, words. You picked.
Yes, I did have the first pick of my draft. It's really a special thing to have.
True. You now have Zeraora, Corviknight, Haxorus, Nidoking, Grimmsnarl, Cloyster, Tapu Lele, Espeon, Kangaskhan, and Shuckle, Kangaskhan, and Haxorus are new additions, I believe.
Yes.
In the grace period. So as I pull up your team, why don't you talk through your draft process and how you came to this team?
Yeah, I had an Excel spreadsheet out. I, for some reason, felt centered on either Tapu Koko or Zeraora. Honestly, like Mew, I've just used a lot recently, and I thought it was one of the best Pokemon available, but I just wanted to go in a different direction. And I did, and from there I thought Zeraora and Corviknight paired really well. Well, that's an interesting pick because I think Corviknight is not. I think the rest of my team is pretty like really offensive, and that was really my goal here. But Corviknight is a little bit of sticks out like a sore thumb in that regard. That's the expression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm not super used to playing with it, honestly. But I can see the potential there, and it was really good for Steven last year in this format. And I think the synergy there is obviously easy to see with the try to hit Corviknight with electric type move, get Bolt Absorb, try to EQ with Zeraora, go into Corviknight. And then I kind of added the terrain aspect with Tapu Lele. Espeon can take advantage of with expanding force. And then Grimmsnarl, I love setup behind screens, and Cloyster and Haxorus can do that behind Grimmsnarl screens. I also think Grimmsnarl is just really one of my favorite screen setters ever to use with Prankster, and it can hit pretty hard too with that 120 attack. So I like that Pokemon a lot. And yeah, I just tried to basically maybe have some pivot, some defense with Corviknight and Grimmsnarl, but besides that, setup, sweep, and hit super hard. And yeah, that was kind of. And then I added webs and rocks at the end with Shuckle to kind of support that too. So we'll see where it goes.
So I mean, I think let's start with the good. Lately, Zeraora and Corviknight is a phenomenal core. I mean, it's just really difficult to deal with. Zeraora and Corviknight, as you alluded to, have great type synergy. And Zeraora is really the fastest good Pokemon that's out there. I mean, Regieleki's out there.
Hey, yeah.
Selgor is a thing that wasn't drafted, and Jask wasn't drafted. But Zeraora is the fastest good Pokemon, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's really nice to have. Corviknight is also really good. And then I think like Haxorus is scary. Nidoking does so much damage, and with the sticky web support, it's really nice. You can bounce back things with Espeon. Cloyster I'm not crazy about, but I think it's cool behind screens. And then Kangaskhan's there as sort of a Pokemon that can, it complements some of your psychic types pretty well, in that it has a ghost immunity. I think your team's a little bit like Freeze Dry weak, / Ice Beam weak, because Cloyster can't take any special hit, and your Steel type doesn't resist ice. And with Haxorus and Nidoking, that might be something you feel like you needed, especially with with Ice Shard out there. But
not so much Ice Shard with Psychic Terrain.
You have Psychic Terrain, but I mean, I feel like I don't think you're going to want to run Terrain Extender every week. Or really any week, to be honest.
That's probably fair. I mean, I definitely will run it, I think, some weeks, but...
I think you will, too. I mean, I think it's a good team. It's a scary team. I mean, Jared, you're playing it week 1, so I'm sure just by looking at it, it's like difficult to be... Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know how to deal with it. Like, are you just going to try to out-offense it, which you really can't, necessarily? Are you going to try to outlast it? I don't know. I mean, it's a really difficult team to deal with, so... I mean, I like the team. It's a really cool team.
Yeah, for sure. And it, I mean, I've already looked at it in comparison, in the matchup to my team because it's week 1. But, the coverage options on some of these Pokemon makes them so hard to deal with.
Right.
Haxorus running Poison Point, Nidoking running literally every move that's ever been written down. Some of these mons are a pain to prep for. And
yes.
I think they work really well together, like you said, with the synergy. With Zeraora and Corviknight, especially that Volt Absorb is something else.
Yes. The other thing, I think you don't necessarily struggle with ground types defensively because you have Corviknight. But Zeraora, I think, you have Cloyster, I guess, to hit ground types back. But yeah, I mean, Corviknight and Corviknight, you can't really hit ground types back necessarily, but I'm excited to see how you use Corviknight this year, because I think that's probably and you were talking about this, Sal. That's, I think, the most interesting aspect of this team to me. Are you just going to be bringing offensive Corviknight, or is it literally going to be your designated wall that that's going to have to take every hit basically this season? I'm very intrigued about how you're going to play it, and it's going to change every week, obviously. But yeah.
I'm honestly interested too how I'm going to use it, because I'm really not sure yet. But I do know that it can play both of those roles really. So, just a bit of context. Last year, I drafted Ferrothorn and Toxapex with my first 2 Tier 1 picks, and I realized quickly that is not how you win in this league. And luckily, I was able to recover from it. I picked up Mew. I leveraged Darmanitan and Flygon, which were 2 lower tier threats, pretty well. And I made it to the playoffs. But this year, I knew that there's so much setup in this league, especially when you can prep for those mons and just throw in a Fire-type move for Ferrothorn or whatever. So I wanted to, Jared alluded to, build a team that was harder to prep for, and that puts pressure on the other team to try to think how they, rather than trying to, let them search what moves can break through my walls or what setup can break through my walls, try to figure out how they can, rein in the attack that I'm putting out. So, yeah. The nice thing about Nidoking too, as you were talking about, like it gets so many coverage moves. Like on the ladder, it's like sometimes you miss out on one of those coverage moves, or the game is you wish you had that other one, but you put Stealth Rock instead. In this one, you can just kind of look through like, okay, would I ever click this move versus this team? No, because this move hits that Pokemon, and it's really nice to just be able to pretty much put Stealth Rock on it or whatever you want on it, or Toxic Spikes or whatever you want to do on it.
Right, I mean, like, you can't run Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, and Thunderbolt. So you can only run 4 of those. So,
but against these limited rosters, I don't think you often need to.
No,
run.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. Maybe it's just my Cloyster bias. I like this entire team except for Cloyster. For some reason, I hate Cloyster. Maybe it's because I don't want to deal with it. So, yeah. I mean, I think... Should we move on to the next team?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Shout out to my boy Grimmsnarl.
Yes.
Oh, true.
Former member. No, I love that Pokemon. It's awesome.
The last team in the Kanto Conference is the Toledo Team Rockets, and they were picking last in the draft. They went with Komo-o and Necrozma. They had the wheel pick, of course, Necrozma. Thunderous Eye, Nidoqueen, Incineroar, Galarian Slowbro, Whimsicott, which he just picked up in exchange for Comfey, Silvally, Doublade, and Gyarados. And, I mean, we all know Matt. It's always going to be an annoying-ass team. And I think he kind of achieved that again this year. Or this season. He has Necrozma, which is always scary. He has Komo-o. And... you might think, like, okay, this is not the fastest team. He has Thundurus and Whimsicott, but, I mean, those are 2 Prankster Pokemon. So, I mean, they can both set up Prankster Tailwinds. Like, they both can do that. And, like, that's kind of scary. But, yeah, Necrozma's scary. Komo-o, even without Klingra Soul, is a phenomenal Pokemon. It could be defensive or offensive, special or physical. Nidoqueen, great for a lot of the same reasons that Nidoking is weak, but it's slightly bulkier and a little weaker. Gyarados is an interesting one. I feel like Gyarados is not necessarily a Pokemon I would associate with Matt, but I mean, I'm sure he'll use it well, as he always uses everything well. And then Silvally is a really great stopgap as well. I mean, you can pick a type and go with it. Incineroar and Slowbro, Galar, 2 phenomenal Pokemon, I think, and this deals with Ghost and Dark type and kind of Bug types that Necrozma really doesn't struggle with because of its ability, but you still don't necessarily want to take those hits. And then Whimsicott and Doublade to close it out. But another cool synergy I like is Komo-o is immune to Shadow Ball. It can also be immune to something like Spore. So, I mean, depending on the week, you can kind of run the ability you think will pair better with Necrozma. It's an interesting team because I think it's like pretty much bulky offense, right? Like,
yeah,
he doesn't have much recovery on this team. I mean, he has Necrozma, which gets Moonlight, and he gets Slowbro, which gets Regenerator and Slack Off. And then he also has Leech Seed as well. But
Drain Punch on Komo-o effect.
Yeah, okay. I guess I don't consider Drain Punch like reliable recovery.
Yeah, it's not reliable. Yeah, that's for sure.
But it's a scary team. I mean, it's a scary team. Go ahead, Sal.
Yeah, the first thing that kind of jumps out at me when maybe this is an oversimplification of it, but we remember classic Matt, the old kind of Bolt Turn days where that was all he wanted to do, just keep on hitting Bolt Switch and U-turn. Mm-hmm. And this team has that momentum gaining. You've got Parting Shot on 2 Pokemon, U-turn on 4 Pokemon, Volt Switch on 1. And then kind of pairing it with that new school Matt setup stuff you got your setup with Necrozma, Komo-o, Thundurus, Gyarados. So I kind of like that, pairing the old school with the new school there for Matt's playstyles, and I think it could work wonders.
Yeah, I mean, something to note is it is a little bit on the slower side, like I said. But I think he can get around that. I don't think that's going to be so much of an issue for him.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you talked about. It's all bulky offense,
Right.
things that can take a hit if they need to.
Right.
Well,
and even though these Pokemon are slower, like having speed tiers like this, like 76, 81, 116, just to be able to outspeed like the 75, 80, and 115, like that's useful. So I think Matt's a phenomenal battler, so I think he's going to do well. It's not one of my favorite Matt teams, I'll say. But I think I'm really excited to see how he uses it. Thunderous is not only a Prankstermon, it gets Defiant, and he has like Stealth Rock and Toxic Spike. So all cool things as well. And he has a lot of taunt support too, which I think is something that something to watch out for. Taunt on Thundurus, taunt on Incineroar, and Whimsicott Prankster taunt. So that helps Necrozma's longevity too, because really I think the best counter to Necrozma is Toxicking it. I'm excited to see his team in action.
Yeah, no, he didn't. You definitely see some teams that went really high, really hard at the beginning of the draft, and then kind of fell off in the back half. So their bottom mons you're not going to see them hit the field.
Right.
But Matt definitely took a more balanced approach. I mean, first and second pick being 16 and 15 instead of 18 and 18 or 18 and 17. Mm-hmm. Those points add up throughout the course of the draft, and it's maybe not something you're thinking about when you're panicking over what you're going to pick next, but it seems like he was well thought out and picked a pretty balanced, bulky, interesting team with a lot of different combinations that could come week to week.
Right. So these two boxes right here do make me a little bit nervous. He did lose his aromatherapy mon with Comfey, and he has no wish support. So I mean, if Necrozma gets Toxic or Thunder Wave, that's it for the rest of the battle. So that's something to keep an eye out for, and just the lack of priority with just Fake Out and Shadow Sneak. Obvious attacking moves, I'll say. So those are two things to watch out for. But I mean, other than that, like Sahil said, the momentum gainer is fantastic. Some really good knockoffers too. So overall, good team. I'm as always, like I said, and as I've said 4,000 times, I feel like I'm excited to see how Matt uses this team. All right, so that completes our Kanto division. Let's go to the Galar division. The first team drafting from the Galar division was Richie and the Granville Goomies, and very Richie team. With the second pick, he picked Tornadus Therian, which I think was probably a little bit surprising to all of us. I think it's a great mon, but a little bit surprising. With Toxapex, Aegislash, Hippowdon, Tangrowth, Mienshao, Avalugg, Salamence, Centiskorch, and Togedemaru. So as I pull up his team, why don't you guys give some initial thoughts?
Yeah, I think 2 seasons ago, season 5, the year he made the conference championship game and lost to Steven, he had 3 or 4. I think he had 3 of the same mons at least here with Tornadus, Tangrowth, and Mienshao, and those all have Regenerator, obviously. So I think he picked a lot of what he was familiar with. I mean, Avalugg, we saw him use to some success early in the season last year, and it's a slow team. It's a slow team. He didn't change that much from that last year. Although he did end up picking up Salamence, which I don't really remember him doing during the draft, which is good to see him get a little bit of setup there, a little bit of offensive power, definitely. But yeah, I think it'll be a bit of an attrition-y team, but it definitely, I think, suits Richie's overall play style that we've seen over the last couple of years.
See, go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you talk about attrition, but with 4 Regenerator mons that are all completely viable with Tornadus, Toxapex, Tangrowth, and Mienshao, and then Hippowdon. How are you gonna out attrition that set? That's hard.
Yeah, really, someone's got to pick up Wheezing with neutralizing gas, so Regenerator's gone. Maybe I should think about that. But
you are in his division.
I am, yeah. So, we're talking about this like it's a very defensive team, which it is, right? But I think that this team is more offensive than it lets on. like, let's say 1 week he brings Aegislash, Salamence, Tornadus, and Mienshao. Like, those are 4 Pokemon that hit incredibly hard. And Hippowdon and Tangrowth are 2 walls that also hit incredibly hard. Like,
This is true.
let's pull up its stats right now. You know, one time I was facing off against a Trick Room team, I brought Cursed Tangrowth. So I lowered it, undersped everything, and then it hit hard. Like, and Tangrowth gets some phenomenal coverage, too. It gets Focus Blast. On the special side, it gets Earthquake, and Knockoff on the physical side. So, you know, it's a Pokemon that can do a lot of things. You know, 100 HP, 100 attack, 125 defense, and 110 special attack. It hits hard. On the ladder, I ran a Choice Specs Tangrowth once, just for fun, and it hit really hard. I mean, with Leaf Storm. So, I mean, those are all things that Richie can do, and, you know, Hippowdon's another one with 112 attack. This team, outside of Toxapex, very weak on the special side, being hit by special type moves, which I think will be really important. But I don't know, it's a really annoying team. I think something else that maybe has gone a little bit under the radar is the fact that he has, you know, sort of supported his team with immunities well. Like, Togedemaru gets Lightning Rod, Centiskorch gets Flash Fire, Aegislash is obviously immune to fighting in normal. And then the other thing is, if you have, like, Zapdos, or if you have, let's say, Moltres, Jared, or just any bulky flying type Pokemon, and you're like, okay, this is going to be my switch into Tornadus. If he has a Sand Up, he can Weather Ball, and your Pokemon's dead. I mean, it's gone. Tornadus now gets Nasty Plot, right?
Does it really?
It gets Nasty Plot. It gets Weather Ball now, and with 121 speed, it's insane special attack stat. What is its attack? 110. I mean, it's good. I mean, look at this win rate: 58%, 58.8% in singles.
Jeez.
It's a really, really good mon, and I think Richie's being slept on a little bit. I think his team is better than, like, you know, Sahil, you, not to call you out here, but you made a comment like Richie didn't learn, but I think this is completely different than last year. This team, right?
That was a little bit of a joke, but
no,
yes.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it hits hard. He has Pokemon with 121, 105, and 100 speed, and then 96, so those speed tiers are covered. After that, it's 65, which is a little worrisome, so everything with, like, 80 or 85 speed can always run Adamant or whatever and not even care. So, I mean, he has a lot of phasing, too, with Whirlwind and with, with Whirlwind and with Roar, so it could just be, it's going to be an incredibly annoying team to deal with, and I think more offensive than people think.
Yeah.
Maybe not anymore, though, since I went on that rant, but
but yeah. Even Tangrowth, I didn't even realize, honestly, that it had 110 special attack. Like, I knew it was, like, kind of high, but I did not realize it was that high.
And 100 attack.
Yeah, I think the Toxapex pick, I just think that's a lot of point. I mean, maybe it could work around in the context of other mods who can hit back, and like you said, you have the Whirlwind and everything else there. So I do think that's a lot of points on a Pokemon that can't hit back, and I think can be kind of easily prepared for. And I didn't enjoy using it last year, so maybe I'm judging it a little too hard on that. But yeah, I expect Richie to, definitely rebound from that 7-game losing streak to end last year.
Right. I mean, okay, but where is this? Look at this. 5 Pokemon that can knock off. So, you know,
they're all good.
And, you know, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to bring heavy duty boots against this team so I can just switch in constantly and heal up if I need to. If he knocks off your heavy duty boots, which you can with so many mons, you know, that's difficult to deal with. He does not have much momentum. You know, really, you know, like, I don't know, Togedemaru, we'll see how often he brings it.
I mean, it's the Tornadus Mienshao show.
Right,
it
is. It is. But having Regenerator is kind of, it's not momentum, but it's, you know, you can sponge hits.
Yeah, you can switch more than you would otherwise.
Right.
Significantly.
Right. And having 2 fast taunt users, that's good, because if you taunt something, they can't taunt you back. So, something else to look out for. All right. Next up on the Galar side, I believe was me because I had the third pick in the draft. I now have Cinderace, Latios, Tapu Fini, Scizor, Miltank, Vikavolt, Drapion, Rhyperior, Mamoswine, Dusclops, and Lurantis. So I went into this draft kind of knowing that I'm either going to have Dragapult, Garchomp, or Cinderace, and that is totally fine with me. I'm going to have at least one of those Pokemon, and those are the Pokemon that I want. Cinderace I'm a little bit nervous about, honestly, but it's just so good with Libero that I couldn't pass it up. And then I was like, okay, I want to pair it with another really nice Mon. Should I go with Latios or Tapu Fini? I really wanted to use Tapu Fini, and I ended up being able to get both, which I'm very happy about. And then I think a lot of Pokemon that I think can support each other. You know, I think for me, having 2 thick fat Mons was really important to me to be able to eat freeze dries for Latios and Tapu Fini. Miltank also gets Sap Sipper for that Tapu Fini. Scizor 4 times resist grass, which I felt was really important. It's a steel type that's not weak to ground, which I thought a little bit of a weakness with. I have an electric type that's also not weak to ground, which I thought was important too. Scizor is 4 times weak to fire, so again, that thick fat and Fini and Latios are really nice. I think I originally had, who did I originally have on this team before I dropped 2 Pokemon. I think Hitmonchan and, let me pull up the transactions. Hitmonchan and Delmise. So I wanted I thought the ghost type would be nice for the rapids to block rapid spins, and it was a rapid spinner in its own right. But I realized that I had no flying resistances, and Steven has Galarian Zapdos. So I felt like I needed something that could take a Brave Bird. And then, so I was able to pick up Dusclops as well, which I think is a really good defensive Pokemon, really underrated. And then I picked up Lurantis because I felt like I needed a grass type. And then I got Rhyperior, which I think is also just a really solid Stealth Rock Mon. And a good rock type. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this team. I think I'm also just really happy with the speed tiers too. 119, 110, 100, 95, 85, 80, and then 65. Like everything has to run max speed that wants to, right? So that's something that I'm also kind of excited about. And honestly, I'm really excited to use Lurantis. Because, I mean, you guys know I love low-tier Pokemon. But, it has 105 attack and 80 special attack and decent defenses, but it has Contrary with Leaf Storm and Superpower. So,
he's superior.
Yeah, it's not quite as good, but...
It only needs to be about 3 times as fast.
Right, exactly. I also have a lot of removal, which I think is going to be really important for this team. And then I have 3 Stealth Rockers, Sticky Web, and Toxic Spikes. Yeah, I don't have Wish support, which I usually like having. But I think I have really good priority with Bullet Punch, Ice Shard, and Sucker Punch. Yeah, and 5 knockoff users again, which I really like. And this too, the Momentum Gainer. Volturn is really important, and Baton Pass is nice as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with it. I'll let you guys tear my team apart now. I talked for a long time.
Break it all down. No, I mean I really like the team that you ended up with. It's nice to look at, colorful, and also it's clearly very well balanced. And you can pretty much point to anything, and say what is this weak to, and then you can point to the other thing on your team and say, oh, that's what covers that weakness.
Yeah, I think the only team that I saw. You're the only team so far that I only see 1 in the red for the -1 weakness chart at the bottom.
By the way, Dion has none, no reds.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna get to him. So. His team is scary as hell. But
Sorry, Jared, did I cut you off though?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I think it's a good team. Even just there's just kind of this sneaky bulk across the entire team. Your lowest defense stat is 75, which is pretty damn good, and then you got Pokemon that have 110 defense and a 115 defense, but they can all hit back pretty hard. Yeah, I think it's a pretty scary team. Now, I do not say this lightly. you've had a history of hacks in the past. I would be nervous about predicating games on Pyro Ball.
Oh my god. I've lost games on Powerball before. Yeah, so for context, Jared, you might not know this, but in the other leagues that I'm in, there's literally something called the Brownie Curse. And it's just me getting hacks over and over again. Yeah, that makes me nervous too, because Cinderace is like Pyro Ball, Gunk Shot, and High Jump Kick, which just does not seem like a good time. But, yeah, that's something that I'm going to have to deal with. I think Cinderace was just too good to pass up. And, something else that I really like is Misty Terrain. So, like, Scizor and Mamoswine can't get burnt in the Misty Terrain, or, like, Cinderace can't get T-Waved. But yeah, like you were saying, I think like it just complements each other well. Like Miltank's fighting type weakness, like and Mamoswine. I have Feeny, Latios, and Dusclops to cover that, and Vikavolt. Rhyperior is also weak to fighting. And then I don't know, like the ghost type weakness, I have Miltank. So yeah, I'm happy with it. And I think like something that I really like is having Pokemon with dual types that resists its normal weaknesses, like Steel with this is not weak to ground, this is not weak to fighting or psychic, this is not weak to ground. So that's something that I really like, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think Tapu Fini was really good. I think Dion uses a pretty good effect two seasons ago, and I mean Cinderace. That's just core change. I just think it's such an annoying move. I don't think hazards were ever meant to be switched. Just doesn't seem right.
It's heresy.
Okay, I know you don't want me to take your screens, but
Wait, does that do that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous.
it's a fantastic move.
And even if Cinderace didn't have that, it would still be like a 15-pointer at least, or like I just feel like it's just.
Well, I mean, with Libero, it'd be an 18-pointer. I think no matter what. I don't think core change is the thing that puts it over the top.
That's true. That's true. Libero, yeah.
Jared, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say anything important.
Oh, okay.
No, I can't even remember. It's all gone.
I feel like there's not a ton that I feel like has been used to amazing effect in the league before, but I mean it's a new meta, and I don't know if that really means anything. Just me kind of, it could be me forgetting some things, but like Pokemon like Scizor and Mamoswine, they sound really good, but I just have not remembered them being threats in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how well you can use them in the future and this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think the thing about this is Richie. So I was talking about my flying type weakness. Richie also has Tornadus, so I needed something for flying types. Ice Shard like does a lot of work against those flying types, which I think it's going to be used for. And Mamoswine, I think, is just an underrated defensive Pokemon because it has that electric immunity. It's an ice type that resists fire. It's a ground type that resists ice. I mean, it doesn't resist, but basically it does. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the team could change for sure, but we'll see. We'll try it out for a little while. This is the first time in a while that I was overall happy with the draft. I was really happy until I was like, oh shit, I don't have a flying type resist. But yeah. Let's move on in the division. So drafting next in our division was Steven, and Byron Munchlax, the defending champion. He now has Kyurem, Galarian, Zapdos, Swampert, Regieleki, Sharpedo, Roserade, Tapu Bulu, Metagross, Crocodile, and Togetic. I'm going to say right off the bat, I do not like his team, but it doesn't matter because it's Steven, who's, the two-time champion, probably the best battler in the league. It's an interesting team. So, really offensive. Really, really offensive. It's interesting to me that he has, like, 2 water types, 2 dark types, 2 grass types. Is there any other double up? I don't know. I mean, that's 2 ground types. That's interesting to me. I mean, even if you like look at his type chart, like 4 things in the red and then -3 in ice, that makes me kind of nervous for him.
Yeah, I will say, as far as the ice weaknesses go, I know that that's something we've kind of been seeing across a number of teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there are enough strong ice attackers in the league to take it, to take advantage of it in the way.
And he has one of them.
It seems right. He has Kyurem. You have Mamoswine, but other than that, there's Glastrier is a high tier Icemon that medium tier Icemon that didn't go, but like it's. I don't know how much of a role that's going to play in people's downfalls.
I think it's not necessarily ice types. It's like the amount of these Pokemon that get ice type coverage.
Yeah.
You know, even something like Freeze Dry, you know, like that's a really good move that actually, you know, it hasn't been drafted much, so or at all. Besides, well, Mamoswine's rarely ever going to use that. I guess Kyurem. So you know, that's a fair point. I mean, you got Piloswine, by the way.
Oh, Piloswine, big Freeze Dry.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if anyone is like, oh shit, there are so many ice type weaknesses. Let me pick up this monster that's sitting right here.
Oh my God.
But no, it's true. I think the problem is like when you don't. The other thing is like he doesn't have anything that's over 100 speed, and like there's a lot of speedier ice beam users. I mean, he has Regieleki, but that Pokemon sucks, and it's not a switch into anything. Well, it's gonna be the kill leader. Watch. But yeah, it's just not my. See, the thing is, I say that, but also it's like I'm prepping against it in week 1. It's really scary. It's a really scary team like to go up against because fighting flying is one of the best offensive type combinations out there. Like there are very few Pokemon that resist both of those things, and like one of them is Zapdos, and the other thing is like Rotom base form. So that's awesome. Crocodile has Intimidate, which is really nice for his team, and you know he has Stealth Rockers, he has Spikes, he has Toxic Spikes, he has Flip Turn, Volt Switch, U-Turn. So, I mean, I guess I can just look down here instead of trying to remember from memory. Okay, I mean that's basically right, and Baton Pass. It's a team that I think Steven wanted to have fun with.
Yeah.
It's just not a very balanced team, and again, I don't know how much that's going to end up mattering, honestly, in the end. 100 being his fastest Pokemon, I think, also makes me nervous, besides Regieleki. Yeah. I mean, Regieleki is so fast that you're not even going to try to outspeed it, so, like...
Right.
Yeah, that makes me a little bit nervous. But also, at the same time, he has, like, 3 super viable Scarfers.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing, right? I feel like that's going to be the puzzle every single week is like which one is he going to Scarf and how well is he going to be able to utilize that Scarf because he's going to need to Scarf something every week because of his speed tiers. But like, yeah, like I mean, Scarf Crocodile is the thing that I had in season 1.
It's good.
Or well, Crocodile was the thing I had in season 1, and I remember just like how good that thing feels, and you know how that Moxie boost feels.
I mean, Stab, Earthquake, and Knockoff is like, that's good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Probably more high horsepower though with Tapu Bulu.
Right, with Bulu. I mean, he also has speed boost on Sharpedo, so that's another thing he has. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think Regieleki. I've been saying it. It's so bad. I'm really excited to see if Steven uses it to effect.
What's its primary electric stab? Is it?
Well, it gets basically every electric type move.
Does it get Nasty Plot or something, or
it gets 0 setup? It gets weird. Volt Switch, like Thunder Cage, which is a really cool trapping move, which I think Steven might be able to use actually. Richie, watch out for Thunder Cage with your Regenerator Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, like it gets Extreme Speed and Explosion and like Ancient Power.
Okay, but it doesn't need Extreme Speed.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it has 100 attack, but like,
yeah. But I mean, 100 attack. But I mean,
Swift.
It's also bolstered. At least its electric moves are bolstered by the Transistor ability. So, you know, it hits harder than you think it's gonna hit. And I mean, with being that fast, you know, you can't even Scarf it like against it. You know.
My thing is it's just hard walled by Ground type.
Well, yeah.
And like. I think that's probably why he has 2 water types and 2 grass types.
Right.
and an ice type.
Thing, right?
But,
so if you want to enable Regieleki, like having Zapdos, Galar, Tapu Bulu.
But here's the thing.
Kyurem.
I think he's going to start off bringing Regieleki, and then he's going to be like, oh, wait, I have Kyurem, Tapu Bulu, Zapdos, Crocodile, Metagross, and, like, Swampert or Roserade. Like, why would I bring Regieleki when I have those Pokemon? But we'll see. Like I said, he's so phenomenal at battling that I don't think it'll end up mattering. But I think Steven could be the most beatable he's been in a long time with the combination of his team and med school. So
Yeah, you smell blood in the water. Is that?
look, I'm not confident in this league.
Trying to take his playoff spot.
I think I don't for some reason like this league is the league that I consistently perform the worst in, despite me being the only one who consistently competes in draft leagues in this league. Well, Dion does too. Yeah, I guess there's something mental about playing people or I sucked at drafting in this league, which is 100% the case.
Yeah, but you also have the highest use rate of Ambipom of anyone in the league. So
Look, man, in the TBA, which I was just in, Ambipom was the third highest kill leader. And there was like Pheromosa and Mega Metagross allowed, so just throwing it out there.
throwing that out
It's
there.
a good Pokemon.
Food for thought.
It's a great Pokemon. Okay, last up is I will not hear slander about Ambipom, okay?
It's my entire brand. I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to. We'll see.
All right, last up in this division, the Galar division, is Dion with the London Lanterns with Mew, Garchomp, Blaziken, Rotom-Wash, Clefable, Registeel, Aerodactyl, Sneasel, Vileplume, Dusknoir, and Munchlax. And how fucking terrifying.
It's the best No Mega Gen 6 team I've ever seen.
But, I mean, dude, this team is so scary.
No, it's so good.
It's so scary. Like,
I mean, the Garchomp, Clefable, Rotom Wash, like.
look at that. Look at that.
Woof.
I mean, Garchomp is incredible. And, this is my hottest take. I prefer Garchomp to Dragapult, honestly, now, especially with Scale Shot, because it can raise its speed.
Okay.
Like, Swords Dance Scale Shot's so hard to deal with. He has Speed Boost Blaziken. Mew is like, well, how do you prepare for Mew? You can't really. And then he has Clefable, and you're like, oh, I got Mew down to like 10% or Garchomp down to 10%. Let me just freaking wish and teleport and get it back to full health. Rotom Wash, which is the pivot.
Mew counters an Icicle Spear. That's your only.
Oh my god.
Why?
Wow. I lost my train of thought there with that. I mean, look at this. He has 5 Stealth Rock users.
And 3 of them are gonna come every single week.
Yeah, exactly. So he has the Hazard Setter. He has good priority. He has some really good momentum gaining. I mean, this team is solid, right? It's just like solid. And I'm scared. I feel like I'm in danger.
Yeah, I think this is a team where I can, like, if he could bring Mew, Garchomp, Blaziken, Clefable, Rotom Wash, and Aerodactyl probably every week if he wanted to, and I still would have no idea what the hell's gonna happen. Like,
right.
There's so much versatility in so many of those Pokemon,
right?
And they balance each other so well.
Right, right. So
yeah.
He is. Where's his Ghost? He has 0 on Ghost, but he has Munchlax, so we'll say that's the minus right there.
Okay.
So, I wouldn't consider Munchlax a counter to any Ghost type.
You don't know.
In before he brings Belly Drum Munchlax and destroys someone.
I feel like. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you, Jared, that like you just look at his top 6 and he could bring that to great effect, but also like Dion has done such a good job in the past of leveraging lower tier threats too, like with like Hitmontop last year, running those 4 priority move sets, and just that's basically how he beat Matt in the championship game last year, which was awesome. I'm really excited to see what he can do with Pokemon like Registeel and Dusknoir and Vileplume too.
Well, yeah, exactly. And here's the thing: he has 3 Pokemon that can Heal Bell or Aromatherapy, right? And with Wish and that kind of support, Registeel becomes almost unkillable, right? Like if you're like, okay, I have a Clefable, let me bring in my Poison and my Steel type, he can Wish and just switch into Registeel, right? Like that. I mean, what do you even do against that? It's like really difficult to deal with. And Registeel with Rest is so freaking annoying to deal with. Like Rest, Stealth Rock, Toxic, Seismic Toss. Like that set is so hard to deal with, and he can support that really well. And then he has 5 Pokemon that can break your team. So Sneasel is also really freaking good.
Yeah.
That's another Pokemon that a good Ice type that with Ice Shard that I think could be quite useful. But
Definitely.
man, I'm not excited about playing this team. Luckily, I don't think I play it till week 5, maybe. I think that's right. Yeah. So I don't have to deal with it until then. But Dion's my early favorite to win the title this year. I'm gonna throw that out there.
I like it.
So
He's gotten slowly closer, I guess, with making season 5, made it to the championship game. Season 6, made it to the final, and then I guess it would only be right for him to win this year.
Exactly. So before we do like week 1 stuff, because this episode is getting really long, but let's just do some early predictions. Who do you guys think is coming out of the Kanto division to put you guys both on the spot? All right, I'll go first. I think it's going to be Matt and Bash. No, it's going to be Matt and I think it's going to be Jared. And I'm sorry, Sahil. I think
hot take.
Super hot.
I just think Jared's team is probably my favorite team outside of Dion's in the league. I think it's the best team right there with Dion. And I mean, I think that's just going to be good. And I feel like it's a team that Jared can be like calm with, and he doesn't have to rely on Phalanx to sweep, which I think is really nice.
And I know retreat more.
And I think it's a good team. I think Matt also is just a really good battler, and he has some Pokemon that he's good with and used to.
Yeah, and the scariest thing I heard in our draft call was someone asked him, "So what are you going to be doing then?" And then he said, "Mostly this, or something." And that scares me because if he was already prepping a lot, and I think he could come up with some tricky stuff.
I will say, I think I can see any of you 3 making it out of the division, and I think Bash could if he switches up his team. I think it's going to be pretty competitive. But that's going to be my pick for now. Sahil, what is your pick? Or do you guys not want to pick your division? That's fine.
I don't really want to pick my division personally.
Okay.
Sahil, if you want to throw some shade, go for it.
I was, if anything, going to maybe pick you and Matt. I mean, Jared and I were kind of in a race till the end there last season. I just want something like that to happen, right? I don't want I don't want 2 of the seeds to be locked up at like week 5, and then it's just kind of boring the rest of the way.
Right.
So as long as it's kind of like that, and one of the the spots aren't so predetermined, I'll be happy. But
no, I feel like we are perennially in conflict. Like I mean, God, even in because I can only live in the glory days.
Exactly.
I mean, in season 1, we were the semifinal match.
You beat me all 3 times that season. And
then never again.
That's when the brownie curse began that year. But
Inception.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the Galar division. I mean, do we even need to predict, or are we all taking Steven and Dion?
Yeah, that seems safe. Steven's team does seem a little sketchy, and he has like responsibilities this time around, so maybe he won't have time to
but like missing the playoffs, like that feels a little.
That feels like an extreme prediction. And
81% winning percentage. There's no way he misses the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That would be wild. And I mean, we'll see if he ends up feeling like he has to do any free agency trades.
Sure.
Before before the bulk of the season happens. But yeah, I mean that feels like the safe, boring answer. The thing is, I definitely don't think you or Richie can be counted out at all. So I'm pretty excited about like the parity that I feel like I'm seeing as we like look between among the divisions.
I mean, I quite frankly feel like I got a little bit shafted with the division realignment.
Oh, yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess so did Dion and Steven, to be quite honest. I guess like unless like they were, well, yeah, it was always either gonna be Matt, Dion, and Steven. Like 2 of them would have to at least be in the same division. Now, if all 3 of them were in the same division, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, like for me and Jared, we lost our best player and replaced him for another really good player, and then we also lost, but not the best player, obviously. And then our worst player also was replaced with a player who has like little singles experience and wasn't good in their one season in the IPL.
Yeah.
So like
I lost Akash.
On paper, our division just got easier for me and Jared.
Yeah, I lost Akash and added Steven, so that's great. And Dion, actually. Yeah. Wait, I don't know if I was at the same.
Right, if you're replacing the Matt slot with Steven, and then you're replacing the Akash slot with Richie, so like.
I mean, like we don't even need to talk about like the division that ends up with Dion and Steven is going to be the harder division. Like Dion has been so consistent. Like I am just terrified. I'm terrified to play him. Maybe even more so than Steven because I've seen Steven's human side, I think I've beat him like once. I don't know if I've actually beat Dion.
Yeah, you see. That's really funny.
I don't know how I beat Dion last year. That was like a really weird game.
I think the thing that makes our league so incredibly difficult is that you play people twice. So it's like you can't just rely on beating them once and having that like tiebreaker. Like it's really hard to prep for people twice, and then if you make the playoffs, you are 100%. You have to play someone a third time. Like that's tough to do, and I think that makes the league really difficult. Even though we all have really good mons, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I think it's really going to. I don't see a way. Well, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. We'll see what happens. Let's go to the schedule, which is here. So this is how the schedule plays out. So weeks 1 and 2 are divisional matches. Weeks 3 and 4, we go cross conference. Week 5, we're back to divisional. Week 6 and 7, back to cross conference, and then we finish. Or sorry, wait, that doesn't. Am I doing something wrong here? No, wait, though, that's right. Okay, so these 2 are cross-conference. This is a divisional game. This is cross-conference. Okay, week 7 is divisional. Week 8 is cross-conference. And then the last 2 weeks are cross-conference again. So we're not going to go through the entire schedule, but...
Our divisional again, yeah.
Week 1, I guess we'll start off with the first matchup that we see, the Green Bay Ambers versus... Bayern Munchlax. So I'm not going to say much about this match because I feel like I need every advantage I can get. I'm not. So you guys take it away. Cool.
Let's see here. Yeah, I think Cinderace, decent matchup, I think, to fire out Pyro Balls. I mean, Swampert's kind of a hard counter there, but and then you got Intimidate on Crocodile. I don't know really how much that'll do, but I think that could do some work potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here, and I feel like I see pretty favorable matchups for Cinderace and Mamoswine.
Yeah,
coming
sure.
up, I think you can push a lot of advantages with them. I mean, those Pyro Balls, Tapu Bulu and Kyurem are not going to be thankful for having that in their game. And then, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think about where Latios fits in. I'm not so sure that Latios has a favorable matchup this week. And then, when I'm looking at Steven's team, I mean, as much as Cinderace has a favorable matchup, maybe against Kyurem, that mon's scary. And so is Zapdos Galar. And I think, given the right sets, those could put him work in the reverse. Plus Tapu Bulu, I think, is just versus Tapu Fini. If you just put him 1v1 in a room, Tapu Bulu leaves. So
That is true. That's definitely fair to say.
And when they're competing for terrain advantage, Tapu Bulu being the favorite switch in to the opposing terrain setter, I think is going to be really, really strong for him.
I think that's generally true, but I have seen a Tapu Fini 1v1 of Rillaboom, so.
Oh yeah. It's,
you
all
never-
right. I'll have to look
know.
up that video. It's research.
Another thing that stood out to me, Kyurem, we talked about how threatening it was, but then you look at Scizor and Tapu Fini as counters to that, and I believe both those Pokemon resist both of Kyurem's stabs.
Well, Freeze Dry's there, but
Freeze Dry does exist. That is correct.
they're also two thick, fat Pokemon. So.
Yeah, I like the Yampers matchup, but I mean, Steven's starting 0-1. I mean, can you imagine the papers? Can you imagine the papers?
The headlines.
The headlines, yes.
The riots in the streets of Bayern.
I will say, if I win, I will feel like I can definitely make the playoffs, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, does Steven play Dion week 2? I guess we don't need to check that now. We'll look at
Yes,
that later.
he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you went 0-2, oh my goodness.
I play
oh my
Richie.
goodness.
Okay, well, so what are your predictions?
I do think you have a good shot to take it. I will say, like, the more I look at it, the more favorable I think the Yampers matchup is. There's always the question of just pure outplay with Steven, so of course he's never out of the conversation. Just like on paper,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading Yampers in the headlines.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa,
Huh.
whoa.
I must have a pretty big end of season, implosion if you think I'm gonna miss the playoffs.
It's
No, they're not connected. No,
I mean,
don't think
not
about it.
really.
Don't think about it too much. Don't think about it too much. Sile, what's your prediction?
I mean, I feel like this is disrespectful, but I also want to predict the Green Bay Yampers
Guys,
2-0.
come on! I can't go into a match being the favorite against Steven. That's,
When you had the worst record and he had the best record.
that's way too much pressure.
Yeah, okay. I think that
I think an underrated aspect of this matchup is we both really know how the other person battles just based on all the times we battled together on Showdown. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the hidden third element.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, two people picking the Green Bay Yampers over Bayern Munchlax. Okay. Next up is the Granville Goomies. Don't know why I said it like that. Versus the London Lanterns. Let's pull up the matchup here. And all right. Well, I think it's going to be Richie needs to not let Garchomp set up and win, and Blaziken. Those two can just swords dance and win, potentially. I think Mienshao is going to be really important in this game, just wearing things down with potentially Fake Out. I also think Aegislash has a pretty good matchup, honestly. Obviously, Garchomp exists, but I don't know, man. I think Aegislash could do a lot, like, especially if it's like Choice Spec Shadow Ball. Nothing really switches into that. Like, Sneasel doesn't switch into a Choice Spec Shadow Ball.
Not even with an EVL, I don't think it's doing that.
So I think like that, I think Aegislash is a pretty.
Does Blaziken get rock type coverage?
Yeah, it gets Stone Edge and Rock Slide.
Okay, I was gonna say Centiskorch feels like a counter to Blaziken, but I guess not.
Charty Berry Centiskorch could be a thing. I think I'm gonna take Dion because I think he just has a better team. But I'm interested to see this week and see how Richie plays because I think, like I said before, I feel like I have more confidence in Richie's team than anyone else besides Richie. And I think if he plays it right, there's a possibility that he could win here. Just because, it's really difficult to break. Like, Blaziken, yeah, it can Swords Dance. Well, actually, Blaziken has a fantastic matchup. Holy shit. Because, like, you can SD and EQ this. Obviously, there's this thing. Blaziken can also be special. It has, like, 115 or 110 special attack. Yeah. I mean, I'm taking Dion. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how Richie plays it. I think he's got to be patient. He's got to play to his team's strengths and just use as much of the Regenerator Core as possible. I think this game happened early last season, too. Might have even been week 1, and Richie actually came out on top.
What, really?
Yeah. Well, Richie, remember, he started off 3-0.
I do remember that.
Then he lost 7 in a row, but which is just
okay, I guess this is facts.
One of the more interesting facts. But I think Richie definitely has a shot here. I really like Dion's team, and I think that it'll be hard to stop some of that setup sweep. And I'm interested to see what type of Mew he brings this week. I'll go London 2-0.
I think Moxie Salamence could be really good this week too. Actually, we'll see if that comes. Jared?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. I don't know if Salamence will be able to get out of, it's being threatened by Aerodactyl, paralyzed by Clefairy Wash, whatever the hell Mew does. I just don't. Yeah, I think Dion's team has some really favorable matchups that, as much as I want to do the hot take, definitely want to see how Richie preps and definitely want to see, I definitely think there could be some surprises with some of the mons that he got, but I'm picking the Lanterns.
All right. 3 people picking the London Lanterns. Next up, shit. Next up is the Milwaukee Mirrors versus the Washington Pokemon team. So I guess I'll talk about this one. All right. So, tier. Thank you. Now, let me reveal all of Sahil's sets. No, I'm just kidding. Man, this one's tough because I think with Jared's pickups today, it kind of flipped in my mind, right? I think like adding Rillaboom and Moltres and Umbreon makes me more confident in Jared's team than it was before. And I'm gonna stick to obvious sets because I don't want to give anything away. But I think Rillaboom having Grassy Glide is going to be really important, and I think having 2 different terrain setters on Jared's side, if he brings them, allows him to use some of the priority he has. Like Tapu Lele can't stop all of that. On the other hand, something like Haxorus is really scary for Jared's team.
Yeah.
Like that Pokemon, if it gets set up, it could just win. So I think like that is something that definitely has to be taken into account for. I think overall, it's hard to analyze with hyper offense because it's like, well, Jared on paper has a better matchup, but if Sahil sets up with 2 things, like he could win. So Man, I'm going back and forth on this one. I guess I picked Jared to come out of the division, so I have to go with Jared to be consistent. I'm just looking at Jared's team, and I'm like, that's annoying. Like, how do I prep for that? And I think that Jared has just enough sustain to outlast Sahil's hyper offense in this first matchup, at least. But I guess, I don't know. I'm going to pick Washington 1-0.
Close one.
Yeah.
I also just have a feeling this will be a close game.
Yeah, no, I do not. I have been vaguely looking at my documents, the documents I have on every team. And yeah, no, I mean, there are some scary things. I try to think through like as many possible scenarios as I can in my mind, and as I think through, the games that we're gonna have to play with, Zeraora and Corviknight and Haxorus, who I'm just gonna assume are coming. Shuckle, Kangaskhan, Espeon, Cloyster, Grimmsnarl, Nidoking, all of them are coming. But for real, those that core up top is one of us is gonna need to make plays. There's no when you're running these fast of sets and these types of mons, it's just like it could be one turn that shifts it, and then it's just over.
Yeah.
And I'm excited but scared.
What's interesting is that Sahil has probably the best Rillaboom counter in the game, and Jared has the other one. So I think it's going to be interesting, like you said, the mind games. Like, how are you going to play around each other? I think, like, the big thing is, I think for both of you, really, is to, like, slow down in battle and not, take your time. Because I think, I think each turn is going to have a pretty big impact on the outcome of the battle. So, not to put a whole lot of pressure on you guys, but
I hope you have 2 hours carved out next Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's important for both of you guys not to get tilted early. Just lose your mind.
I'm gonna tilt straight into the ground.
But
yeah, I had like a mostly foundational kind of concept built before your recent edition, so I'm gonna have to obviously just basically start from scratch again. But it'll be interesting. I think this should be. I want to say it'll be like the game of the week this weekend. So if anyone's gonna tune into one live game, I feel like this might be the one to do it.
But you're not biased.
No, not at all. I'm the commissioner. How could a commissioner be biased? It's impossible.
All right, the last matchup of the week is the Wisconsin Wailords versus the Toledo Team Rockets. So I think Spectrator is actually pretty good. I mean, obviously he's Incineroar, but Spectrator, one of the coverage moves that Spectrator gets is Mudshot. So, I mean, I don't know. Do with that what you will, Bash. There's no way anyone's listening to this right at this point, but, I'm trying to find ways for Bash to win this one, but Matt has a really good matchup again. I think Necrozma does really well against Bash's team. I mean, he has Heat Train and Spectrier, but I mean, like Earth Power and Dark Pulse take care of that.
For every time we say,
sorry, go ahead.
For every time we say, Necrozma has got a really good matchup, and I mean that definitely could be possible that he could bring it out end game and sweep, but there's that Ditto. That can copy whatever stats Necrozma chooses to boost.
That is very true. Like Ditto, you can't really set up until Ditto's dead. But I think like one really nice thing about Matt's team is he deals with his own threats pretty well too. So like if he sets up and wants to kill something and then Ditto comes in, I think he could switch into something else and deal with it.
That's true.
But yeah, that is true. Ditto's there. I'm still gonna take the Toledo Team Rockets. I'm gonna say 4-0. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's just across the board looks pretty difficult for the Wailords. I almost don't even want to talk about Necrozma because it's too it's too there are too many things you can do with it, and for all we know it could be the completely wrong thing that gets brought, but it does have a good matchup. The other things on his team just kind of they also have good matchups. I don't know. I think Team Rockets 4-0. 4-0 feels about right. But the Ditto reverse sweep, it's something I dream of.
I think we're probably gonna see normal Silvally, which is actually really nice because then you can put an item on it. Because Matt does not have a normal type, and I think actually, like I said, I think Spectrier is good. I think Spectrier is really good, and if he can get rid of Como-O and get Incineroar a little bit low, and I don't know, maybe like Nasty Plot or even just kill one thing and get to +1. I mean, it is hard to deal with once that happens. Yeah. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Landers can't run Z-Fly for Como-O. But yeah,
you can just run Fly.
Yeah.
Problem.
He has a lot of stuff for Heatran too.
That's the thing. That's the thing is like I love Heatran and I love being able to kind of pivot it in and out, but I don't know that it necessarily has like the it's got a lot of bad matchups this game. Specifically, I would love to see Spectrier just kind of take off. My only fear is I don't know exactly, he needs chip on a lot of things, I guess. And to play that game without like giving a major opening to one of those threatening mons on Matt's team, that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, agreed. Sahil, did you pick?
No, I didn't make a pick. I think it is going to be an uphill battle for the Wailords. I think he'll play it well. I think there's some threats there. I think Landorus has actually a pretty good matchup against the Team Rockets. Well, actually, I just saw Thunderous. Yeah, it'll definitely be a tough one for Bash, but I think he'll make it a little closer than maybe some think. I'll go 2-0, Matt.
Sweet. Well, that's week 1. Before we go, let's do some fun things. Let's do kill leader this year. Who do you guys think is going to be the kill leader
for the year? I think Garchomp has a really good shot.
I think Garchomp has a good shot too, yeah.
I just feel like Steven never doesn't have mons like Kyurem, just like these hard-hitting offensive kind of almost one-dimensional forces. That I feel like Steven's just such a good battler and he's going to use it well, and Kyurem is so scary that I feel like Kyurem might be a decent pick. Kyurem Ice, yeah. Yeah,
I think that makes sense. I think for me, I could see, like you said, Garchomp. I think that's a really good shout because as good as many offensive threats as Dion has, Garchomp is the offensive threat on that team. And Dion's really good. I mean, I think I could see Polt doing a lot this year, especially since you supported it well. So those would be I think my 2 picks early. And then I think on Steven's team, it's actually Zapdos is the one that I would pick to be his kill
Oh
leader.
yeah, I would love to see that. I think that thing is so cool, and
Yeah.
I'm happy someone picked it up.
Right.
It just seems like a more versatile
Right.
Halucha, or a more interesting Halucha. I
Right.
think Halucha does its job well, but
Yeah.
I mean, Defiant's scary. You would defog, and it's up to +2.
yeah.
And I think for me, honestly, I think Cinderace has a chance too, just because that thing
agree.
is ridiculous.
I agree. I mean, Cinderace and Zeraora, my predicted like first 3 picks in the draft were like Dragapult, because I knew I was gonna pick it, and then I thought it would be like Cinderace, Zeraora. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at
Yeah, I think those are decent shots too. Yeah.
56.7 win percentage, and that's usually with Libro being
It's
banned.
usually Blaze. Yeah.
So good mon. And I just think like the rest of my team kind of chips things, and Cinderace can come in and kill. Like I think that's the other thing. Like it's not just about like what Pokemon's just great. Like if Richie's good this season, it's gonna be Tornadus or Aegislash that has a ton of kills because the rest of his team's not killing anything. Well, Salamence, I guess. But yeah, is there what awards did we have last year, Sahil? Do we have?
I don't even know if there were any official awards last year. I mean, like basically, I think Necrozma won it.
How about
like 2 years ago.
how about Dark Horse Pokemon? Mine's Spectrier.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, I went through the whole process of like, wait, I thought you hate Spectre.
Okay,
You actually, is that actually your dark horse candidate?
no.
Not much of a dark horse.
It's not
to
a
be
dark horse. Yeah, I would not consider that a dark horse. I mean, besides Pikachu, obviously.
Of course. Kill leader. Week 1, 2, 3, 7.
Yeah, exactly. I think. Man, it's hard because we all have really good Pokemon.
It does it have to be
Well,
like
are we talking
an
about
offensive
kills?
Pokemon?
Yeah, we're talking about
Yeah,
kills
that's what I
or
said.
like utility, because then it kind of changes. I think Miltank's gonna surprise people, honestly. People
I
don't-
hope so.
I'm just gonna be rolling out over everyone.
It's the only move it knows.
True. Okay. Well, is anyone else?
I mean,
anyone else want to jump?
I think, I mean, it might be a little bit of a cop out, since I picked Garchomp as the probable kill leader for the year, but like, I think Crocodile's gonna put in some work on Steven's team.
That's a good choice.
I think that thing's such a good, like, so good at cleanup. Like just knock off Earthquake those are the only 2 words it knows, and those are the only 2 words it needs to know.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually gonna go Piloswine because Jared, I think you're gonna slowly start to love it, and you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I need to bring this week."
yeah, if I can, my only goal with Piloswine is to for it to have more kills than Mamoswine.
Okay, it's on.
It's all.
It's on. What should we bet?
What's the bet?
If Mamoswine gets more kills, or if Piloswine gets more kills than Mamoswine, I will buy you Pokemon Black too. Wait, actually, let me go to eBay first to check the prices.
Yeah, it's got to be a sealed in box grade 10. The only way it counts. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll discuss it.
Yeah, I'll eat the physical representation of an Eviolite if Piloswine doesn't.
Okay, all right. We're approaching 2
do it on
hours.
stream.
So, oh wait, Sahil, you didn't do a pick.
Yeah, I wanna say Sneasel for my.
Ooh,
dark
that's a
horse
great
candidate.
pick.
On
That's a
Dion's team.
great pick, actually. I think that thing's gonna get a shit ton of kills. All right, that's it for us. We'll be back next week. Any final thoughts for episode 1 of IPBL Weekly?
My goal for next week is to have more bad things to say about Dion.
Okay. Well, hopefully that
My goal for
happens.
next week is for Jared to be to not even want to do the show because of what happened the previous week.
My goal is your
fair?
goal is to squeeze the newly found passion out of Jared. I guess we're doing goals. My goal
Goals.
is
That new segment.
my goal is to make Steven mumble to himself at least 5 times.
Oh my god, we need Oh my god.
Mumble cam.
What's the thing they do in the NFL where they like mic
Mic'd
up
up.
people? Yeah, just mic'd up. We need that IPL mic'd up.
That'd be. No, that would be like literally mic up one battler a week. I don't know. We can do it.
Why can't we mic up everyone? We all have recorded. We just have to hit record.
All have mics.
This is true.
That would be really funny. All right, we are gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, I don't know how you did it.
Congratulations.
I think Sahil might be the only one who makes it this far, because I know he's gonna watch it. But make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more IPBL content. We'll be back next week for a week 1 recap of season 7 of the IPBL. See you later.